Awesome. Well, I see a bunch of faces here today. I really appreciate you guys being here, even if you're in the field, tuning in however you can. And love being able to see you. If you're able to turn on your camera, it's a lot more fun for us to be able to see you guys. If you're in a position where you can't, we totally get it. We appreciate you tuning in whatever way you can. Um, just to give kind of the rundown on how this meeting works, I think all of you know it by now, but we might have a newbie here. Is we're going to go over wins. And so, what good's happening in the business, maybe what you learned that week. You don't know who needs to hear it. And so, go ahead and start thinking about what wins do we have to share. And then after that, we're going to get into the Q&A. So, this is the most powerful hour of the week because you're able to get advice from not just coaches, but also from contractors who have been in your situation or are in your situation. So, it's a really great resource. I really encourage coming into these meetings with questions or at least having in mind what is my biggest limiting factor? What's the thing that's been keeping me up at night that I've been thinking about that I want to solve? And let's come together and help solve it for you, give you some solid advice. But without further ado, let's get into the wins here, guys. There's no rhyme or reason. Just unmute or type in the chat what good has been going on this week.
We've had quite a few bids come back through. We're pretty booked up, so it's been a pretty solid week. For last week was a pretty solid week. Now we're finally booked up for the next couple weeks here, so that's some good news there. We've got a handful of remodels, and when I say remodels, we got to go in and do all the painting in an apartment, replace all the flooring, do some sheetrock work. We've got multiple ones of those that we have to do. So our board is filling back up, which is always a good feeling.
That is a great feeling. I'm seeing some head nods from other people. They know that's a great feeling,
Yeah.
especially this time of year. I know as we approach winter and it being an election year and all of the things, that it can be a little nerve-wracking, but I love seeing you shake the trees, Jason. I know one thing you and I have been working on too is really that sales process,
Yeah.
and helping with that closing ratio. So thrilled to hear it. Thank you for sharing. Fred, I see your hand up here if you want to unmute and tell us what's happening.
Yep. So I got a good bit of like hiring wins. I hired my old project manager back,
Hey.
which should be good. We should be trying to grow the commercial side more. Found a real good electrician and a real good helper. And another win, businesses kind of seems like it's picking up. That's why I'm needing to hire more people. So it seems like real good for the end of the year for, like you were saying, with election year and all that. It wasn't looking like it was going to go good, and now it looks like we're extremely busy. So
Yes.
yeah.
Well, Fred, that is so exciting. I'm curious, what caused your project manager to come back? I love hearing those stories, of I hear it often where employee leaves for something else and then they're like, oh, never mind.
Yeah. So for him, he left and went work in a chemical plant. He needed some overtime money, so I was offering the same amount of money that they were offering. He just could make overtime with them, and he needed to make some money quick. So I kind of had a feeling
Yeah.
when he left that I was going to get him back towards the end of the year, and that's exactly what happened. So
Yep.
yeah,
Yep. I see that with those types of jobs and with the union and stuff like that. People will try it, see the money, and then they're like, never mind. This is not what I want. Well, awesome, Fred. And one thing that I just want to touch on, guys, is most of you, the majority of our clients are essential businesses. When COVID happened, we did not know what it was going to look like. And I know that March, Reb and Growth had their highest revenue month up to that time. I know that the majority of our clients at that time started hitting goals and hitting revenue months. And we didn't know what to expect. We'd never been in a pandemic before. And I just say that to say, with it being an election year and approaching the holidays, guys, we could stay up all night wondering the what ifs. But more than likely, especially for you remodelers, for your service guys, if something were to happen, people are stuck in their homes, with rates and stuff, and they're going to think, what do I need to, if this is the home I'm stuck with, what do I want to do to make it mine? Which is kind of what happened during COVID. And so I just want to build your guys' confidence. Don't obsess over the what ifs. Just do what you know works. What you know has gotten you the results so far is what's going to serve you moving forward. So lean into it. Everything's going to be okay. I have full confidence in that. Michael, I see your hand up.
Yeah, so I had a win this morning. Short version is I had an outstanding invoice. I was owed like 2.7% of our annual revenue amount was owed to me for the last year, and finally picked up the check today and closed that out. So that was a big win.
Yes.
Yeah, felt good.
Oh, I see head nods too for that one. I know collections is not fun for anybody. Michael, do you feel like moving forward, you've got a pretty good process that collections does not become a problem? The cash flow is a little bit better?
Yeah, so since I've been working with Redmond, I've really realized that I can't have an accounts receivable like I've been having. But this was a unlikely client. I mean, this was this is a really nice neighborhood. This is like Michael Jordan literally lives in this neighborhood. Like,
Oh my gosh.
it's not the type of people you think you'd get stiffed by. And
Yeah.
it just happened that I don't know what fell through with him, but there was a lot more money than just what it was owed to me for this job. So there was nothing I could have done differently with this one. But yeah, it definitely cash flow is better now that I'm working on my accounts receivable.
Good. And we do have a collections process for anybody who does not have it. But with collections, there's two parts of it. There's what system do we need to implement when collections does happen, when it gets to that point? We got to make sure we have that established. And then the other half of it is what systems do we need to have in place to make sure that that people don't get to collections? It's kind of a two-parter. So if you feel like your business is missing either one of those or both, talk to your coach because we've got systems that will help you with both of those areas. But Michael, thrilled to hear it. What other wins do we have going on today, guys? Unmute, raise the hand, type in the chat. Fred, which one are you looking for? Are you looking for like a working agreement that has like a draw schedule in it, or are you looking for the collections process?
Yeah, probably both, just to check and see if I need to change anything I'm doing, because I have some that somewhat get outstanding.
Yeah.
And I am taking people to court and all that, so I am kind of working that avenue too.
Yeah, unfortunately, sometimes it does go to that. I do see that Travis just put it in the chat there for the collections process. And I'm going to share my screen real quick just to walk you guys through. Anytime we share a document with you guys, and Travis, if you'll grab the working group, oh, you're already on it. Gosh. To make copies, you just go up to File, hit Make a Copy, and then you rename it whatever you want to rename it, and then hit Make a Copy, and then you're able to make whatever edits to that document that you want. It becomes your document once you make a copy to it. Same thing if you see like this spreadsheet link here that's inside of this document. If you make a copy of this document, it's not going to make a copy of this spreadsheet. You're still going to have to open up the spreadsheet, make a copy of it too, rename it, and then so you can make whatever edits that you guys want. But Travis did place inside the chat the link to the collections process and the working agreement. Those are kind of your two best tools with setting, expectations on draw schedules, cash flow, stuff like that for the job. What happens if somebody does decide not to pay or goes late? And then the collections process is when somebody gets to that point, what do we do from there? Great learning from that win, Michael. Appreciate that. What other wins do we have today? Any good? Anything that was learned? Progress that was made? Okay. Well, let's get into it, guys. Thank you for those who did share the wins. We always love to hear it. But let's get into the Q&A. What caused you to want to jump on this call today? What would you want to learn? What issues are you running into currently? Whether it's employees, jobs, cash flow. Maybe you just started implementing Profit First and you're feeling lost. Maybe you're getting ready to hire a project manager for the first time or an office manager and you don't know what to do or how to pay them. you know, what questions do we have? Just unmute, put in the chat, and we'll get going.
So I have a question. We're pretty seasonal down here in South Florida, and we get an influx of work this time of year. And I don't have like employees that are part-time that come on for season and then leave, but it would be ideal. Does anybody hire on, part-time half the year for season?
It's a great question. I would love any feedback from clients if you have any. Michael, would you be subcontracting them out, or would you be hiring them as employees seasonally?
I would like employees seasonally, but I don't really know the pros and cons of either. And I haven't mentioned it to Travis. I'm just blindsiding him with this question.
That's okay. You guys are welcome to do that. You do not have to clear things through your coach before bringing up here. I promise. We're not offended.
It just came up this week that we're getting inundated, and it's like, I can't get to all the work.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it would make sense to hire, but I didn't know if anybody else does it.
Yeah. What makes you, Chris, and I'll let you speak to this. But I'm curious, Michael, what makes you think that you'll only need them seasonally? Like, are you worried that the work's going to dry up at some point, or what makes it's just kind of that concern of?
So yeah, the work dries up every summer because our clients don't live here in the summer. It's too hot.
Gotcha. I have one other client that's in a similar case to that, where most of our clients, summertime's the busy season. But I have one who is in a similar case to yours. But Chris, I'll have you kind of speak on that. On what's your thoughts on seasonal hires?
Michael, did you need skilled labor, or did you just need any labor?
I mean, skilled, someone who comes back and forth every year, and kind of learns the trade. I don't know how skilled it is. I have some skilled field guys that could keep them going. So somewhat skilled,
Yeah, we hire unskilled seasonally. Skilled is a little harder. We hire unskilled actually out of posting on college job boards, like in dorms and stuff like that, and like private schools more than public schools, but job boards and teacher job board postings and stuff like that. So we hire out of that because those guys are always seasonal and only want for a time period and stuff like that. So we get a lot of 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds, 19-year-olds and stuff like that. Not as necessarily as skilled. Some of them can be trained up. Some of them have really good attitudes or work for their dad, and that's why they are interested. They took the little flyer or whatever, and they know trades. So we've gotten quite a few 20-year-olds that, my dad, I grew up doing electrical with my dad every weekend and stuff like that. So we just posting in the right area, we have found that works pretty well. And it's really Facebook postings on those actual school pages and stuff like that.
That's a great idea.
And that's how we've got other seasonal skilled laborers. Find the alternative season for like trade workers that may do something else, like storm chasers or tree guys or something like that might have a lot more work. So we get a lot of storm chasers that we actually hire that have other skills when they're not chasing storms, July through October, type of thing. And so we'll use storm chasers. They usually can have more skill.
That's a good idea. Yeah, talking it out with you, these would be considered unskilled laborers. They don't need licenses or anything. So that's helpful. It's very helpful.
Yeah, I think there's a really good point to that, Chris. I think there's a lot of guys who look for that kind of work, for seasonal stuff, lower skill. I think if you're needing like a lead carpenter or a tile layer or somebody like that who needs a certain amount of skill, you're probably going to want to find an employee and hold on to them because those are rare. But if it is lower skill, I think you can totally do it seasonal. But I also want to challenge you. If you're having the busiest busy season than ever, you're going to have the busiest, slowest season than ever. There's always going to be busy in a slow season, but the activities that you're doing to make this busy season so busy is going to carry out through the slow season too. You can expect to be busier. And so if you do need to have a key hire, let's get them hired. But I saw a few other hands up. Jason, I don't know if you had a comment. I think I saw
Yeah.
your hand.
Yeah, changing the subject a little bit. So right now we're taking big increases on our paint through Sherwin-Williams. So I just started reading through. We kind of had our first pushback, excuse me, where we gave an estimate. It was within the 30 days. And number one, I want to find out if that's right, if we should go that long for estimates out there. But there was some wording, some verbiage at the bottom of the estimates that it kind of said bid. It didn't say quote, but I'm just wondering, like, what should be on the bottom of our estimates that is saying, hey, if prices go up, we're going to have the just for example, the paint prices could change. So if that happens, we've got to charge you that extra price, that increase.
Yeah. Great question, Jason. I'll go ahead and jump in here. And as far as the specific verbiage, we're not lawyers, so it's not going to be specific lawyer language, but this will put you in the right direction. It's called a price escalation clause. That's what is provisional for the change in material prices over time. In the past, what I've done with guys is actually just 2 weeks, 14 days.
2 weeks. Okay.
Like this bid is good for 14 days. If it's not accepted within that time period, it just means that the numbers have to be reworked to verify. Sometimes that can save somebody some money. Sometimes it costs them a little bit more. But yeah, 14 days is what I've found to be somewhat reasonable that still protects you and that a customer is okay with. But others are absolutely welcome to chime in with more.
Everything, Brent?
Yeah, and just a note on that, guys, and this kind of goes for most things.
Okay.
You might have a season where you say the estimates are only good for 14 days, and then you might have a season where you're booked out really far and you want to make it a 7-day and put a little extra healthy pressure on people saying this is only good for 7 days. You might be in a situation where prices are pretty static, pretty good, and you're really wanting to get things closed, and so maybe you do 30. It is completely up to you, and most of them I would say are around 14, like what Bryce recommended. But that is something that you get to determine your fine print. You get to decide what that is depending on the season that you're in.
Yeah.
Any other feedback on that? I thought I saw another hand up at one point, and I want to say, Scott, it may have been you. If not, I'm sorry to put you on the spot here.
If you're speaking, yeah. Can you hear me? Yeah. Part-time I've had a pool that I've had good luck with is fire. They can be consistent and
Firefighters. Yeah, that is a good thought. A lot of them do have jobs. A lot of them have businesses outside of what they do, outside being a firefighter. I think we've worked with quite a few firefighters who have contracting businesses, but that's a really good thought, Scott. I love what, I'm forgetting who recommended it now. But trade schools, colleges, supply houses, those are great places to advertise if you're looking to hire or if you want seasonal work or anything like that, or even if you're wanting to hire an employee. Those are great places to put a flyer, make connections. It's okay to call up some of the professors or to call the firehouse or to call the supply house and say, hey, we're looking for blank. If you guys see anybody or know anybody or hear anything, send them my way.
Nice. Any other questions, things going on, insights maybe that came up from this past week or past couple weeks? What brought you here today?
Or maybe what's pressing on your mind, what's keeping you up? If you could solve one thing in the business right now, what would it be? Remodeling Wizards. I do not know your
Oh,
name.
I'm newer. Hi, how are you guys?
So good to meet you. So glad you're here. What question do you have?
So I'm just wondering if anyone else has faced this. We had our Google business profile suspended, and it's been like a nightmare to try to get through the appeals process. And I'm wondering if anyone else has gone through that.
I'm scrolling through the clients who are here right now, and I'm trying to see if any of the ones who I know have dealt with that are here. I know that Scott with Complete Electric Solutions right now, they've had a huge bear of just getting their listings verified. Um, to answer your question, yes, it's very normal to get a listing suspended. If you're a business that's in business for longer than a year, you're probably at some point going to deal with a suspension or at least a verification. How quickly that gets resolved, I wish I could tell you in the 6 years here at Redmond Growth, I could give you a timeline, and I can't. And I've probably dealt with dozens of suspensions at this point. And that's because it's really up to Google. All you can do is give Google what they are asking for, and then just kind of staying on top of them with the communication. And eventually it does get resolved. But it's just staying tenacious with it. Whatever they ask for, any emails that they send you, respond immediately, give them what they're asking, and just stay tenacious with it.
Yeah, we haven't
And
gotten
there are
any like reaction from them. So, and it's been like we did the first appeal, it got denied because we weren't providing the right evidence. And then I think we got the evidence right and we changed our Google profile, but we haven't gotten anything back from them. And it's been like 2.5 weeks. And now we're like, well, should we just forget our old profile? It had 55 reviews on it, which took us forever to get.
Yeah.
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 I would say that it's not uncommon in the appeals process, and it's not a bad thing to kind of hedge your bets. If you create another business listing in order to have something live so that you still show up on the maps, quite literally, that's okay, and that can be resolved after the fact. If the original account does get, unsuspended or re-verified, then you can work to try to consolidate those two. But it's okay to hedge your bets. It'd be an expansion thing for the future, anyways, to have a second business listing eventually down the road. And so, yeah, that's what I would say. In addition, you can do what you can, as Nicole said, but Google is the one that makes the rules, and we really just have to wait on them, unfortunately.
So you think going ahead and making the only reason I was hesitant about making a second profile is because I was worried that we would put in the effort to get some reviews, and the reviews are like liquid gold. I feel
They are.
And then we have to go back to the old profile, and we would lose those reviews. But maybe I just need to get over.
It's not impossible. Like, let's say that your new listing, or your old listing does get unsuspended and you've already gotten your listing live and you have a couple reviews on it. It is not impossible to get those listings merged. It is kind of a bear. You're still dealing with Google to get them to do it. And so you're still in their hands. You're still on their timeline. It's not a guarantee, but it's definitely not impossible. We see it happen all the time. I have a One-Way Plumbing's example of that, where they had a listing that kept getting suspended. So we created a new one, finally got that old listing back live, but we had a ton of reviews on that new listing. We were able to merge them, and get that taken care of. Now, most of the time, guys, we don't recommend creating a new listing unless it is kind of a dire circumstance, especially if you do have a listing that does have a good amount of reviews. And when I say a good amount of reviews, if you have less than like 20, that's not a good amount of reviews. Even sometimes 20 isn't a good amount of reviews, but 50 is, especially for a remodeler, that's a good amount. And we do want to do whatever we can to get that listing up and live. Now, one thing that I want to show you guys, and this is something that, we do have a member of our team. The coaches are more than capable of doing this for you too, but Kaden is the one who helps us with a lot of Google stuff if we run into any issues. But to start a dialogue with Google, now there is no phone number to call Google Business Profile. I wish there was. There's not. What you do to fill out a form, if you're ever like, hey, we've filled out a reinstatement form, we've not heard anything in 2.5 weeks, and you're wanting to start a dialogue with Google. You're going to get into your business profile. How you do that is you log into your Google account, and then you click here and you go to Business Profile Manager. Click these 3 little dots and go to Help and Support. And then you're going to scroll down and click this Contact Us. And then you're going to fill this out. Once you've got it submitted, it's going to trigger an email. It still might take a couple of days or a couple of weeks for them to get back. Again, you're on Google's timeline. I always tell people when it comes to the internet, Google gets to play God. Unfortunately, they do. they get to be on their timeline. They get to do what they want. But if you're ever wanting to start a dialogue with Google, that's the way to do it.
Yeah. Something that I will say while we're on the topic, we're going to send out an email about this here later, but with Google Local Services, which is related to Google Business, there's been a few changes that are pretty important in the past week and a half, 2 weeks here. If you've gotten an email that says, follow these steps to verify or to claim the business from Google, that's a legitimate email. And so do follow those steps, follow through the process that they give you. Because Google's changing the way that they're on local services. You know how we used to explain a lot how you had to get local services specific reviews as opposed to your Google Business Profile reviews? Is that ringing any bells for anybody? Maybe. Well, they're getting rid of the Google Local Services specific reviews because it was confusing. It didn't really make a whole lot of sense. And the way they're doing that, we think, is through this this email that they've been sending out. So go ahead and follow through those steps. And then additionally, this we've kind of come across in this past week. So I think Tuesday maybe, how you get into Google Local Services to actually manage your leads. The link to be able to access that has changed from what they used to use. And now it just sends you to Google AdWords, which is a different portal to update it with. So I put the new link in the chat. Again, we're going to send out an email about this here probably today or tomorrow to make sure that everybody fully knows, but wanted to explain that to you guys as well. That's a legitimate email from Google. So go ahead and follow those steps. Nothing crazy. Your business is not suspended, but your local services would go down if we don't get that transfer to happen in the next, I think, 2.5 weeks. Is it November 2nd, they said, on a lot of them? Either way. And if you have further questions, definitely ask your coach. But
yeah.
One other thing I was going to ask is a quick poll for the folks that are here. Are you guys popping into the meeting from the link on the calendar invite, from the text, or the email? What are most people seeing whenever we send out stuff?
Calendar.
You can put it in the chat if you want.
Dale said email.
Email.
Jason said email. J. Russ said email and text.
Okay, cool.
Text works best for me, but I've also got it on my calendar.
All of them. Tom said, yeah, calendar. I think you're going to get 50-50, Bryce.
Yeah,
I think
fair. And that means it's a good thing we're doing it all. So,
yes,
okay, I just wanted to see what was the best way to probably reach out to make sure that everyone saw that from a company communication.
Yeah.
So.
I'm just going to share my screen real quick and show you guys. When you're inside of your Google Local Services account, you click the menu and you go to business verification. I just clicked on it, so it's reloading. But if you click business profile, that's where you see that your listing is connected. Like your Google business listing is connected to your Google Local Services account. Your reviews are transferring over. And so now that they're taking away the reviews for Google Local Services, you just really want to make sure that your profile is connected so those reviews are transferring over.
Yep.
Does everybody know how to get their Google review link, or has their Google review link, knows how to get that link to send to people? Show of hands.
I've never sent it out before. Could you show us how to, or maybe you can tell me later too, but
Yeah. Well, I think I might have, let's see. Because he's here, I'm gonna click on. So I'll share my screen and I'll show you guys. So this is Arnold's Plumbing. We've got him in the chat, Mr. Dale Eads, with his 783 reviews. Quick brag, he had 10 reviews when he started. So that is called tenaciousness right there, and consistency. But how he would grab his review link is first he would make sure that he is inside of the right account that has access to his Google business profile. That's the first step. And then you want to go to Business Profile Manager. And then you're going to click where it says read reviews, click get more reviews, and then you're going to copy that link right there.
Okay.
And then this link, it takes them directly out to where they can leave a review. As long as they're logged into their Google account, it'll pop up right when they click on that link, it'll pop up right like this. If they're not logged into their Google account, it'll take them to a sign-in page. And then you'll leave a review from there. That's the number one thing you guys can do for your marketing when it comes to getting organic leads and when it comes to getting Google Local Services leads. And now it's like killing two birds with one stone, getting those reviews. What other questions do we have today, guys? Concerns, grievances, thoughts? Because I'm going to take, oh, Jordan, good. If you want a mute here, I'm like, I'm going to take over if we don't have questions. So somebody better raise their hand.
Has anybody gone through the process of implementing HouseCall Pro? And what services in HouseCall Pro did you utilize? So they offer a lot in that platform. So we're looking at implementing estimates, invoicing, calendar, and time cards. I was wondering if there's anything in there that we're missing, any capabilities that we don't have. And we're also looking at, so to send like the text notifications, we're having a little bit of like the on your way notifications, things like that, like, hey, your invoice is ready notifications. For some reason, we're having difficulty in the app getting that function activated. So just wondering if anybody's had any feedback on that.
Great question. Dale, I think you use HouseCall Pro. I don't know if in the chat you can mention what it's done for you and what all features you have a hold of. I know that one thing we do recommend is purchasing Profit Rhino. He was in the chat. I didn't even have to ask him. But Profit Rhino is a great tool that HouseCall Pro offers. It's a separate company that HouseCall Pro, I want to say they own or at least have a really good partnership with. But it's really good when it helps with drawing up estimates and being able to give multiple options. So they kind of do like a good, better, best feature, which is really helpful when it comes to closing ratio. But Dale says he uses them for time tracking and sales tracking as well. But he does not use their payroll. I want to say Dale does a payroll manually still, I think. Anybody else here using HouseCall Pro?
One thing I'll add that as far as features that HouseCall Pro offers, that you need to have it somewhere. It doesn't have to be through HouseCall Pro, but you can run it through there. Is just their call recording, because that's such an important part of your sales process and your sales training. And so as far as like features that they offer that didn't list out, that's one that you can definitely look into.
Yeah, that's the lifeblood of your business. If you don't, let's just do the plug right now. If you don't have call recording on your phones, get it. You can talk to your phone provider. There's about 40 different companies that offer the voice over IP. HouseCall Pro, all the calls through Google Local Services are recorded, so you don't have to worry about it there, but don't stop there. You want all of your calls to be recorded. That's the lifeblood of your business. It protects you and it helps you a lot with sales.
And I don't want to put my foot in my mouth with this, but I'm pretty sure that if you're utilizing CMM with us, when you get those phone numbers created through CMM, you'll also be able to access call recordings. I'm pretty sure that's part of it, but I'll check on that and make sure.
Do you mean like incoming business calls, or do you mean like updates with do you mean everything?
All calls. All calls. Every
So
call.
what do you do in the instance of like does that mean you would provide employees with company phones? I mean, how do you do that if employees don't have company phones?
I would really not encourage employees necessarily like calling customers. Like you want to have all business activities going through really one line. Like the office manager or a business owner, if you don't have an office manager yet, we want all calls going through that line. I really would avoid having employees give customers numbers. It can just get really messy.
The other
we use a app like for our business line. It's like connected to my phone.
Yeah. Like when we work from home, like our Redmond Growth employees, we call you guys off of our landline, even though it's like through an app on our cell or on our computer.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too. Is
I'm not very
for most voice over IP stuff that you can go through whatever app or application that they have.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it should forward to your phone when it comes inbound.
Yeah, because like a lot of people still call his phone like his cell phone number because that's how we did it before, and then some people call the business number.
Yeah. A lot of clients, when they get to that, a lot of people start that way where it's like everything just goes through their cell. When sometimes it's easiest to just have the business owner get a new personal number and make that number the business number, just depending on how many people have it. Or even getting it to direct to that new business number so that we can, because nothing's more distracting for the business owner than getting blown up all day long. We need a gatekeeper. We need somebody screening those calls.
Yeah. Well, I think once maybe we have like an office, then we'll have like a landline.
Yeah.
So.
One thing, Dale, I really like you mentioning this. One thing that he said that he wishes that they did do is that HouseCall Pro does have vehicle tracking. And it's an automated system. It really helps with the communication between dispatch and the techs. And so he's recommending, if you're signing up for HouseCall Pro, to do that.
Okay.
Jason,
go ahead, Mike.
Sorry, I may have missed it because ironically I received a phone call that I had to take. But we're hiring an office manager, and I want to be able to forward those phone calls to the office manager. Did you guys just talk about that? Is there like a service to just forward it from your phone? And I'm sorry I missed it.
It's okay.
Well, I just use like we have Verizon, and they have on the business account, they have like a One Talk. So it's like, you can hook it up to a cell phone, iPad, the computer, but I just use it on my phone, and then it just navigates the business line is an app, and it shows up, and then I can call, I can text, and it'll reflect the business number and not my personal number.
Okay.
But I feel like it's kind of spotty, and I get still a million spam calls, more than I get business calls. So
yeah,
I think a landline's better.
Well, any voice over IP. So like even when we call you guys from like the app through our cells, like we've got to make sure that we're not on Wi-Fi unless it's very, very good, strong Wi-Fi. And we've got to make sure we're not driving or something, where it can go in and out, or it will be. It's a internet based system, and so you got to make sure that you have something reliable or it will be spotty. But there's a ton of different ones out there, Michael. We used a company called Clarity Voice for a really long time before we set up our phones through CMM. But yeah, Dale says that they use Clarity Voice still. We used to use a company called 8x8, but we liked Clarity Voice better. I would just reach out to a couple. I know that Verizon offers it through Verizon. And so sometimes it's easy to do it through your phone provider if they have that option. Sometimes that's the easiest setup. But I would just look around, Michael, and find which one's going to work best for you.
And the Verizon one, I feel like is cost effective. It's not very much money.
Yeah, that's nice. That's good to know. We love that. We love a deal.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. The other thing that I would say too for you, Jordan, it's electricians. I don't think your name's Jordan, but with the HouseCall Pro, you were talking about a specific feature that you aren't able to get working. When you do sign up with or onboard, you should have an onboarding specialist or somebody that's there to train you. Those people, that's what they're for. So definitely reach out to them.
Yeah, we have a meeting next week.
Okay. And then Jason, what you got?
Yeah, so years ago we started buying all of our employees' cell phones, and that bills, you know, $600 a month. But some employees were complaining that we were when they were using their personal phone, that we were using data because we had them download like Builder Trend or something like that, you know. Does anyone else do that? Provide cell phones to the employee?
Well, we were just talking about that because, like, you know, we expect to call them and if we need to talk work related. And so we're kind of trying to figure out the same thing.
And if it's work related, guys, like that's a cell phone's job. You know, like if you need to call an employee to check on them, that is a cell phone job. Unless they're making 400 cold calls a day, then you supply somebody a cell phone. If it's a tech that you just need to get a hold of, you don't need to supply a cell phone. I like what Dale Eads put in the chat that he provides tablets, especially for our service guys. They need to have tablets if they're running service calls, especially if you're going to be using HouseCall Pro, because they're going to be able to present estimates to the clients with those. They'll even be able to present home safety inspections. Like, it's a really good sales tool, and it will help them stay more organized. And so I would provide tablets over cell phones, and same thing with like your project manager. If you're a remodeler or somebody like that, them having a tablet that they can update things for Builder Trend, or a tablet or a laptop, whichever you want to do. I would supply that for your project manager, but unless you have a sales role that's making a bajillion outbound calls or something like that, you do not need to be supplying cell phones to people.
So even with like Builder Trend, that's where they log in, log out of jobs and stuff like that. So you're saying that they can download that and work that off their own personal phone. Is that kind of what you're saying?
If you're wanting somebody to update, like if you have a project manager that you're wanting to update Builder Trend and do other things, I would supply them a tablet. If it's just like a random crew member that needs to like look at Builder Trend every once in a while, I'll just have them download it to their phone. It's not like it's going to take up a ton of space, you know.
Maybe they're just using that as an excuse to try and get
not use it.
Cell phone stipend or not use it.
I guarantee that's what's happening.
That's what I was just about to say. So I'm fairly new in business, and some of the previous companies I worked at when I worked for other people, it was it seemed like it was always a major talk on the employee side. Since I'm recently coming from there, we don't want to be tracked on our time card. Like, we don't want to log into an app that's going to track us all day. They feel like it's like an infringement of privacy. And so the way that most of the companies got around that was a cell phone stipend. So it was like a $20 or $25 a month and then that basically said, okay, well, that made it easy. Sorry, we're dealing with a lot of extra stuff.
You guys are fine.
It's all bouncing around this morning.
You're okay.
Life's crazy right now. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I'm sure there's a lot of people here who can relate, so you're totally fine. Cody, he does HVAC, and they do some service work and commercial work. And he said that instead of giving his guys tablets, if they're going to use their phones, he just gives them that stipend, for using their phones for that type of work. And so I think both of those are options. I would definitely, especially if you're service, I would definitely lean more towards giving your guys tablets and having them operate through that. And if you need to call a guy, just call him on your cell. That's very normal business practice, for them to use their cell for that type of stuff.
Well, because they all they pack two phones now. They pack a business phone and they pack their personal phone. And so, and I realize that these guys, I mean, like my painter and stuff, she may not have her phone on her all the time because she doesn't want to get covered in paint or whatever. But that would be a pretty big bill for me to unload if we go this route. So.
Yeah. I'm guessing that's Maria. I see office staff hand raised.
It is me. Hello.
Okay. Hey.
Sorry. Yep. I don't know how to change it. So I'm the office manager at Summit Home Solutions, and I will say we use Open Phone, so it's just an app that comes through the phone. And me and my Riley, the owner, we both can see all the calls. So it's really nice. Like if someone's calling and okay, he just gave them the estimate. I know I don't have the answer to this. Like he needs to answer this call. We both get it. But our project manager has a separate number. So I'm not getting all the calls from the subcontractors with questions. So I can still see them and stuff, but I can ignore them. And I know that I'm only dealing with my thing. So that's been super helpful and just something I wanted to add real quick.
That's great feedback. Yeah, especially for people looking to get an office manager like Michael, I promise you guys, having that gatekeeper will, if you're a business owner, feels like you do not have enough time in your day, there's no way you can have a set schedule. Having somebody screening those calls for you will be a game changer. I promise you'll have a lot more time, be a lot more organized. It'll become a lot more realistic very quickly. What other questions do we have? Concerns, grievances? Well, one thing that I just wanted to touch on here, guys, I'm not going to get on my soapbox with only 13 minutes left in the call, but Bryce laughs because he knows I have a hard time not getting on soapboxes. So he's
See you in 13 minutes.
Yeah. But as we approach wintertime, it is an election year. I'm hearing more and more clients, just people being a little bit nervous, unpredictable. Maybe it's a little bit harder, or you're feeling like it's harder to close than it has been in the past, or maybe you feel like your leads are slowing down. I would just really encourage you guys to dig into what works. Don't worry about what the what ifs are. Let's make sure that we are getting Google reviews. Let's make sure that we are using CMM. Let's make sure that we're really leaning into our sales process. This is a great opportunity to really lean into that sales process, making sure that we're giving estimates within 72 hours. We're giving them in person. We're doing follow-up appointments. Let's make sure we're doing our low-hanging fruit activities, that we are following up with customers. We're sending out newsletters. Let's make sure that we're doing everything we can with the leads that are coming in. And we're not just saying, oh, I need more leads. I would say 8 times out of 10, people don't have lead generation problems. They have sales process problems. And so I'd really lean into that. What are we doing with our low-hanging fruit? What are we doing with the leads that are coming in? And don't get frustrated by it. Don't just, it's just harder to close right now, election year. Let's not use those. That might be true, but I promise you there's things that we could do better to combat that. Also, see it as an opportunity. If you're number one on Google, if you're sitting really pretty, your Google business listing, you got a lot of reviews and search traffic's just lower right now. Let's see that as an opportunity to add another leg on our marketing stool to generate more leads. If you're number one on Google, you have nowhere else to go on Google. What's our next avenue of getting leads? Is it Dream 100 work? Is it starting Meta ads? Is it getting a second Google business listing? Let's see that as an opportunity to really strengthen our marketing stool and get more leads. I just want to challenge you guys with that. I know that we're approaching winter. It's election year. There's a lot of what ifs. But let's use that as an opportunity to really lean into our sales process, to lean into our lead generation, our low-hanging fruit activities. And if you're not sure where to start, talk to your coach and help us kind of guide you on what we think would be the most fruitful thing for you to focus on. But just wanted to touch on that, encourage you guys there. Any final thoughts, questions, comments? Well, one plug is not next week, but the week after, which will be the 31st, Halloween. If you have a costume, you get bonus points when you come to this call, gold stars. And so would love to see you guys there. We will also be having Shane, who is our in-house bookkeeper. Some of you guys are working with him for your bookkeeping and accounting and tax. He will be on this call. And so that is a great opportunity to ask questions. Come to that call. I encourage everybody to be on that call. We're going to send out an email and text reminder letting you guys know he is going to be there. But that's a great time to ask questions about accounting, bookkeeping, tax, filings, all of these things that when you ask your coach, we might know more than the average bear, but we're sure as hell not a certified CPA. And that's what he does for a living. And so come to that call. Encourage everybody to be there. Again, we'll send out reminders. That's not next week, but the following. Easy to remember because it's Halloween. And there's nothing spookier than accounting. I promise that.
Wow. What a plug.
All right, guys. Well, let's go ahead and unmute here. We're going to do a big 3, 2, 1 growth. I'm seeing the microphones coming off. We'll do 3, 2, 1, growth.
Grow.
All right. Bye, guys. Thanks for being here.